He looked the officer in the eye and said calmly, "I'm with the FBI." The man just shrugged and replied coldly, "I don't care." 10 minutes later, he was the one in handcuffs, not the lawbreaker, not the aggressor, but the man who had held up his badge with a terrifying calm and had been ignored like it meant nothing. 6:42 p.m., Dinwiddie County, Virginia. The sunset stretched across white fences, brushed the asphalt, and cast a warm golden hue on the freshly watered lawns. Children biked around the neighborhood. A dog barked aimlessly across the street. Everything was still. Peaceful. Too peaceful. Malik Townsend had just left Norfolk after a long day, working with the Interagency Task Force. All paperwork, meetings, no shootouts, no pursuits. His black Dodge Charger cruised quietly through the residential zone, 28 miles per hour. No rush, no music, just the hum of the AC and the soft, even breath of a man waiting for the day to be over. Then came the flash of lights behind him. No siren, just the sharp blink of red and blue. Malik glanced into the rearview mirror. A police SUV. Silent. Closing in. He didn't flinch. Turn signal. Pulled over, engine off. Window halfway down. Both hands on the wheel. Slow, deliberate, intentional. This wasn't the first time he'd been pulled over. But with his skin color, in a neighborhood like this, every stop was a trial. Every stop was a moment he had to prove he wasn't a threat. The patrol car door opened. The officer stepped out. White, heavy set, sunglasses on, despite the fading light. His hand hovered near his weapon. Didn't draw, but close enough to make a point. No greeting, no introduction. Just a clipped, cold question. "You live around here?" Malik kept his eyes forward, didn't turn, didn't react. "I do," he said, voice low and steady. But the officer's stare didn't ease, only grew tighter, sharper, like he was searching for a reason, any reason, to escalate. And in that moment, Malik knew. This wasn't a traffic stop. This was a judgment, a confrontation with bias. And this time, he carried something the other man hadn't counted on. An FBI badge. And a truth that would be hard to swallow. Dinwiddie County isn't the kind of place where people expect trouble. It's the kind of town where everyone knows everyone, where dinner starts at 6 p.m. sharp, and kids are told to be home before the streetlights flicker on. Malik Townsend understood that. It was part of why he chose to live far from the city. For that quiet. This afternoon had nothing remarkable about it. On a tree-lined street, the steady sound of bicycle tires rolled across pavement. Sprinklers hissed softly as they watered neat flower beds, and the golden hour sun slanted low, painting rooftops and white fences in hues of orange. Everything was so ordinary, it was almost beautiful. But Malik didn't notice beauty anymore. He'd left Norfolk over 2 hours ago, after a long, uninspiring day. Meetings with the Interagency Task Force, case file reviews, smudged ink on stale reports, no raids, no crime scenes, just lukewarm coffee and a slow-spinning clock in a sealed office. He was tired, but alert. His black Dodge Charger glided smoothly. No music, no phone calls. Not because he was strict, but because he needed the silence. Inside the car, everything was in place. A file case rested neatly on the passenger seat. A leather wallet, holding his badge, was within easy reach. His uniform was off, just a crisp white dress shirt, sleeves rolled up, top button undone. But his posture stayed straight. His presence stayed sharp. Malik never let his guard down. Even on the drive home, he held a steady 28 miles per hour, within the speed limit, careful, every move, intentional, not out of fear, but because he knew. In some people's eyes, his skin color would never match the job title he carried. He had learned how to live between two worlds, One world of classified documents and federal investigations, and another, where simply stepping out of his vehicle could be seen as justification for suspicion. And this afternoon, those two worlds were about to collide, not because he did anything wrong, but simply because he existed in the wrong place, at the wrong time, in front of the wrong set of eyes. And it all began with a single flash of light in his rearview mirror. The patrol car door slammed shut behind the officer. He walked forward, with the practiced gait of someone who always believed he was in control. His sunglasses hid most of his eyes, but Malik didn't need to see them to feel what was coming. The officer's right hand hovered casually near his hip, close enough to the gun to send a silent message. I have the power. No greeting, no introduction, just a dry, clipped question tossed through the half-open window. You live around here? Malik kept his eyes forward, both hands still on the wheel. His reply was short. I do. No further explanation, no excuses, no tone soft delivered with clarity and calm. And that, more than anything, seemed to irritate the man outside. The officer tilted his head, eyes scanning the car's interior, like he was searching for something that didn't belong. License and registration. Malik gave a slight nod. My wallet's in the jacket pocket on the passenger seat. Registration's in the glove compartment. I'm going to reach slowly. His words were measured, deliberate, steady. Not because he was afraid, but because he knew every movement he made could be twisted into a justification. He reached for the wallet, then the glove box, placed both items on the dashboard. Nothing hidden, nothing defiant. What's the reason for the stop? He asked. The officer didn't respond right away. His eyes stayed fixed on Malik. Then came the unofficial accusation. You're driving slow, circling the neighborhood. Someone called it in. Malik furrowed his brow. I was going 28 miles an hour. I'm on my way home. The officer stepped back half a pace, then asked, almost like a dare, You hiding something in the car? Malik didn't laugh, though bitterness caught in his throat. Number, I'm just tired. Been working since 7 this morning. His voice was even, slightly hoarse. I just want to go home. Step out of the car, the officer ordered. Malik paused. For what reason? Because I said so. There was no pretense anymore. No normalization. Just raw authority, dropped like a hammer. Malik inhaled deeply, his hands moving slowly toward his wallet again. I'm a federal agent, he said. My badge and ID are in this wallet. He opened it, holding the credentials up to eye level, clearly. They gleamed under the late afternoon sun. Malik Townsend, FBI. I'm not a threat. I just want to go home. The officer didn't look, didn't even glance. He tilted his head and pressed the radio on his shoulder. Male, non-compliant, claiming to be FBI, requesting backup. Malik clenched his jaw. Not from anger, but from the force it took to stay composed. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This was intentional. Officer, you're making a serious mistake. The cop narrowed his eyes, voice cold as steel. I don't care who you are. Step out of the vehicle, now. And just like that, the mask was off. Beneath the golden blaze of a Virginia sunset, a man with a badge stood staring down the barrel of unseen prejudice. And one more step, just one, could change the course of someone's life forever. Malik held his badge up, steady and unwavering. The sunset caught the leather wallet, casting a golden glow across the embossed FBI emblem. A silent reminder that this was not a debate between equals. But Ellison didn't care. He looked past Malik like he was watching a man put on a show, didn't lower his eyes to the ID, didn't ask for clarification. He simply stepped back half a pace and spoke loudly into his radio. Black male, non-compliant, claiming to be FBI, requesting backup. Send nearest unit to my location. Malik stared directly at him, not with anger, but with a calm so firm it bordered on terrifying. You are making a serious mistake, he said, each word deliberate, each syllable measured like a warning etched in stone. I've shown my ID, I've cooperated, and you have not given a clear reason for the stop. You are escalating this beyond any legal boundary. Ellison didn't answer. He raised a hand, motioning. Step out of the vehicle, hands where I can see them. Malik drew a long breath, unbuckled his seatbelt slowly, opened the door, stepped out, raised his hands, every move slow, transparent, undeniable. I am cooperating, he said clearly, but listen closely. I am not warning you as a civilian. I am warning you as a federal agent. From this moment on, every action you take will be reviewed, every second, every motion. Ellison stepped forward and shoved Malik's left shoulder. Not hard enough to knock him down, but just enough to show this wasn't about safety anymore. This was about dominance. Malik didn't flinch, didn't raise his voice, didn't wince. That silence, that stillness, was the most dangerous form of resistance. You threatening me? Ellison barked, voice rising. Malik's voice didn't waver. His eyes didn't blink. No threat, a warning. They stood face to face, the air between them thick with weight. On one side, unnamed authority. On the other, authority granted, and fully aware of its limits. Ellison snapped. He grabbed Malik, spun him around, twisted his arm back, and pulled out the cuffs. Malik didn't resist, not because he couldn't, but because he knew. In that exact moment, stillness was the strongest move he could make. As the cold metal locked around his right wrist, the dry click echoed like a verdict, not on Malik, but on the man crossing the line of justice. And around them, neighbors had begun stepping out onto their porches. The handcuffs snapped shut, cold and dry, echoing in the soft dusk air like a slap across the face, unmoving. His hands were locked behind him, but his shoulders didn't slump. His eyes never left Ellison. It wasn't the stance of a man subdued. It was the stance of a man recording every second, preparing to respond through the very laws he had sworn to uphold. Across the street, a woman watering her garden froze, the hose still dripping in her hand. An elderly man walking his dog stopped dead on the sidewalk. Windows opened, gates cracked. All eyes turned to the black Dodge Charger, where a black man in a white dress shirt, unarmed, nonviolent, was being treated like a criminal. Jaden, maybe 16, stood on the front steps of his house, phone raised, recording. He didn't speak, didn't interfere, just let the lens roll. Raw, unedited, undeniable. Malik knew they were watching, and he spoke, every word clear, loud, and intentional. I am Special Agent Malik Townsend, FBI. What you're doing is unlawful. I have fully cooperated. You are unlawfully detaining me. Ellison clenched his jaw, tightening the cuffs a little more, as if trying to hold on to a power that was quickly slipping through his fingers. But no amount of pressure could block the community's gaze. No grip could stop the camera from capturing what was now unfolding. No force could silence truth. Not when it was spoken at the right time, in the right place. Malik glanced at Jaden. The boy's eyes were wide, his mouth slightly open, stunned but learning. Just half a second. But it carried a message. Record this. Keep it. Not for me. For you. For all of us. In the distance, a second patrol car's siren chirped, soft but distinct, its lights flickering at the far end of the block. Backup had arrived, but this time, they wouldn't just be reinforcing a pair of handcuffs. They'd be arriving to witness the judgment of that very act. Malik shifted his wrists slightly behind him, feeling the steel bite into skin, cold and deep. But his gaze remained steady, not on the officer, who now struggled to mask his unease, but on the people watching. Because this time, he wasn't alone, and the truth was already being recorded. The second patrol car crawled up, its lights flickering, casting flashes of red and blue across the pavement. Another unit followed close behind, quieter, but heavier, with intent. The front door opened. Out stepped a woman, lean frame, purposeful stride, hair pulled back in a tight knot, eyes sharp as an unsheathed blade. Lieutenant Karina Voss. No name tag needed. You could tell by the way she walked, brisk, composed, in command. She wasn't here to follow. She was here to decide. Her gaze swept across the scene. A black man in handcuffs, standing tall, silent, his eyes unbowed. A white officer, shoulders rigid, sweat collecting at his temple. Neighbors lining the sidewalks, phones held up, the air thick, seconds from rupture. Situation? Voss asked, not loud, but firm enough to freeze the moment. Ellison straightened like he'd been waiting for his moment to justify. Voice louder than it needed to be. This individual was acting suspicious, driving slowly, watching houses, refused to exit the vehicle when ordered. Claimed to be with the FBI. Voss didn't answer right away. She turned to Malik. No need for many questions. One look was enough. This wasn't the face of someone hiding, not the posture of someone who'd just broken the law. Then she saw it. On the roof of the Dodge Charger, an open wallet, a badge and federal ID sitting neatly inside, the golden seal of the FBI catching the sunlight like a beacon. She walked over, picked it up, flipped it open. 2 seconds. Silence. Enough. Agent Townsend? She asked, her voice softer now, but still carried weight. Malik gave a small nod. Yes. Ellison blinked. Wait, what? Voss closed the wallet and held it firmly in her hand, then turned to Ellison. No shouting, just a question, razor sharp and colder than any rebuke. You handcuffed a federal agent? I followed protocol. He refused commands, was acting strange, driving suspiciously, and what protocol lets you ignore a valid federal ID and put a man in cuffs before verifying it? She cut him off. Didn't raise her voice. She didn't need to. Each word sliced clean, thin, cold, precise. Ellison froze, mouth open. Nothing came out. His face turned a slow, painful shade of red. Was he armed? Voss asked. No. Did he resist? No. Then why the cuffs? He had an attitude. Voss raised an eyebrow. An attitude? That's your reason? Ellison swallowed. No words left. No authority to stand on. Everything he'd clung to collapsed in just 3 minutes. 3 questions. Not Malik stood still, just waiting for the truth to be acknowledged for what it was. The air held still, like it had been sliced in half. Ellison didn't quite understand what had just happened. His hand hovered awkwardly near his holster, not drawing, but unsure where else to go. His eyes darted between Lieutenant Voss and Malik, searching desperately for some logical exit out of the chaos he'd created. But the door had already closed, sealed by a command that needed no emphasis, no threat. Just words, cold and clear. Officer Vega, Voss said, without taking her eyes off Ellison. Take Officer Ellison into custody, standard procedure, handcuffs, Miranda. The words weren't loud, but in Ellison's head, they rang like a judge's gavel. He turned sharply, panicked. Wait, what? You're cuffing me? Voss didn't repeat herself. She didn't need to. Her stare said it all, and it hit harder than any order ever could. Vega hesitated a half step, then moved forward. Ellison stepped back, disbelief etched across his face. You can't do this. I was doing my job. I was just being cautious. I thought... Voss cut him off. her voice low but sharp as steel. You didn't think. You reacted. You ignored valid ID. You abused your authority. And you handcuffed a federal agent without cause. Malik, by now, had been uncuffed. His wrists bore the red imprints of restraint, but his eyes were clear, not with triumph, but with clarity. Justice, at last, was being served, in front of everyone. An elderly woman near the fence clapped softly, slowly, not out of celebration, but out of recognition. Finally, someone is being held accountable. A middle-aged man walking his dog gave a quiet nod. Jaden still held the phone up, unblinking. This was the moment he knew. No one would tell him, "You're making too big a deal out of it," again. Ellison turned to look at Malik, now standing tall, rubbing his wrists, eyes steady. Not angry, but weighted. No retaliation, no rebuttal. That silence was the sentence. Vega locked the cuffs around Ellison's wrists, and this time, the click rang louder than before. Because this time, the one being cuffed was the man who had forgotten where power ends, and everyone had seen it. Malik sat back in the car, silent for a few seconds. His hands rested on the wheel. The cuffs had left marks, red, deep, but now they didn't feel like pain. They felt like evidence. Proof that sometimes you don't need to shout to be heard. You just have to stand tall and let the truth speak for itself. Jaden stepped closer. "You okay, sir?" Malik didn't answer right away. He turned to the boy, his gaze softening. "I will be." Then he tilted his head, voice low. "Did you get it all?" The boy nodded. "Every second." Malik nodded back, his voice dropping to something firm, grounded. "Keep it. Not for me. For the next time. For the next person. For you. The truth only matters if someone holds on to it." Jaden looked at Malik like he was seeing something far bigger than just a man. A symbol, a glimmer of hope. He clutched his phone tighter, as if he were holding justice itself, fragile and small, but suddenly possible. Lieutenant Voss approached. Her expression carried no pride, only principle. "I can't promise discipline," she said quietly, "but I promise. This time, the truth won't get buried." Malik looked her in the eyes. "Don't let it end here." She nodded. "It won't." They didn't shake hands. They didn't need to. Real respect doesn't need ceremony. It comes from doing the right thing, even when no one told you to. Malik returned to his car. This time, Jaden stepped back, watching. As the Charger pulled away, a few neighbors clapped softly, not to celebrate, but to acknowledge. "We saw." And this time, justice didn't stay silent. Malik drove slow, past rows of homes glowing in evening light. The window cracked open. A breeze brushed against his wrist, still marked and raw. But something inside had softened. Not because he won, but because a boy kept filming. A leader didn't look away. And a mistake, this time, was called by its true name. Then Malik's voice rose gently over the background music, not shouting, but enough to still the heart. Respect isn't about a badge. It's about how you wear it. And tonight, someone finally wore it right. If you've ever felt fear during a traffic stop, if you've ever witnessed someone mistreated just because of their skin, don't stay silent. Record. Share. Stand up. For those who can't. And if you wear a badge, remember, it doesn't shield you from accountability. It demands that you live up to it.